So this starts off on a bus from Colombo to Kataragama. I was going there on a recommendation from a friend of mine. She said, if you want to see large temples, you should go to Kataragama. It's also a magical place. Now, at the time, there was no highway to get to this temple. So you had to take a city bus in the coastal route. I had taken the wrong bus at this point, and it had been about 10 hours on a bus. And I got to Kataragama really late. And I was really frustrated with myself and just, the whole trip. So on these buses, people would get up, I'd have to get up, people would sit down, and my bags would get moved, and at some point, my bag fell, and my notebook fell out. So by the time I get to Kataragama, I'm happy to get off the bus, and of course, I don't realize that my notebook is on the bus. I only realize this once I get to the guest house and I start unpacking my things. So I get there and I meet the guy who's running the guest house, and he introduces me to his friend, and he says his friend is going to help me out. This wasn't during the pilgrimage season, so there wasn't that many people in there, and I was the only person staying in the guest house. So his friend, and this guy, his name was Susa. So Susa smiles at me and he says, anything you need, let me know. I get back to my room and I'm unpacking my stuff, and I realize that I'm missing my notebook. I get crushed. I'm devastated. This is, for some context, this notebook is one of those nice moleskin notebooks, but more importantly, it had all my notes and ideas and experiences and observations since I had moved to Sri Lanka. It was like I was very attached to it because I was processing. I'd gone through a lot before coming to Sri Lanka, and the experience of living in a new country, a new job, everything was a lot, and I was using that book. So I tell myself, go to bed, you figure it out in the morning, you'll see how you feel. So the next morning, I get up, the Susa's getting up as well. I see him in the kitchen, there's a cup of tea waiting there for us, and we sit down, and I'm drinking my tea, and he asks me, what do you want to do? Are you okay? Did you sleep all right? That sort of stuff. And I tell him, I slept fine, I feel much better, thank you, but I'm really sad because I lost my notebook. And he asked me what happened, how did you lose your notebook? And I explained to him as best as I could that how much it meant to me, but also that, it was bittersweet because I was in this great place and I was ready to learn and I was open to the experience of being in Kataragama, yet it was a bit spoiled because it was starting off without my notebook. And he said something to me that I won't forget. He hands me this postcard with Saraswati, the goddess of learning and art, and says to me, don't worry, Kataragama is a magical place. There's magic here, and you're a lucky man. And he said it in a way that was a bit comforting, but I knew in my mind, I thought, yeah, okay, thanks. That's nice of you to say. It's not, but this book is gone. Like, this is the bus that came from Colombo, and now it's definitely not here anymore. At that point, I was already kind of resolved, and I knew that I wasn't going to get my book back. And then we went off. He introduced me to all of his friends in the city, and we had a great time. His buddy lent us bicycles, and we rode around the city, and he took me to this, one of his friends who had an energy room. It was this cave, and there was mirrors everywhere, and we hung out in this tree house. It was just, the whole thing was very surreal, and it was good. But every day, all these great things happened. I would always feel really fortunate and lucky, as he said. But then I would always remember, I wish I had my notebook here. It'd be really nice to write all this stuff down. So, those 3 days went by, and on the last day, I was finishing breakfast, and Susa asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, well, I've had a great time here, and thank you so much for introducing me to all these people, and just taking care of me. But I'm still, to be honest, I'm still a little bit bummed out about losing my notebook. And then he kind of like snapped, it's like he had forgotten about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, let's go get your notebook." And I was just finishing. I think we were having string hoppers or something like that. And I was just finishing up, and he quickly, gobbled up the rest of his breakfast and put the plate away, rinsed it, put the plate away. And so I quickly did the same. I didn't know what was going on. So I knew that there was an urgency and we had to go. He wasn't quite clear, but he was determined. So I was like, okay, let's go. Wherever we're going, let's check this out. So he says, let's go to the bus station. And I was like following him, and I was thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. There's no way this is actually going to lead to me finding my book. So we got to the bus station, and we were in his friend's tuk-tuk, and there was one bus there leaving. So we told the tuk driver, and he sped up and blocked the bus with this tiny tuk-tuk. And then we get out of the tuk-tuk, and the bus driver comes out of the bus, and there's like this big, like, dramatic conversation going on. And then all of a sudden, things calm down, and I just see the bus driver shaking his head, saying, "I don't have a book." And so I think, of course, he doesn't have the notebook. And then he shouts to the conductors. If in these buses, there's two people that work them. One's the driver, the other one's the conductor, the ticket guy. The ticket guy pops out of the back doors with my black book in his hand, my fucking notebook. And I said, "That's my book." And just as the conductor hands me my cherished notebook, Susa turns to me and says, "You see, Kataragama is a magical place." And at that moment, I just broke. Like, all the emotions turned me into a little child. It was incredible. My notebook had gone to Colombo, up and down for 3 days, with hundreds of people traveling on these buses every day. And somehow it had stayed there. If I hadn't have finished the string hoppers when Susa was done, if I hadn't have spoken to him about my notebook, if we hadn't have left and gotten into that tuk-tuk at that particular time and stopped that bus, I would have never had my notebook. And that was the beginning of my relationship with the idea of Saradwati, the goddess of learning.